You know that feeling, right? As the day wears on, your eyelids start to feel like they have weights on them, your mind begins to drift, and that pillow starts calling your name. It happens to all of us every single day. But what is actually going on inside your brain that causes this slow, undeniable pull towards sleep? Well, today we're going to dive into the science behind what's called sleep pressure.
It's a pretty basic question, one you've probably asked yourself after a super long day or, heaven forbid, an all-nighter. Why is it that the longer your eyes are open, the more your brain just begs for a shutdown? That feeling is so intense, it's almost like a debt that you know you have to repay. And it turns out that's not just a metaphor, it's a real physical process, all driven by one specific chemical.
And here it is. The answer to the mystery is a little molecule called adenosine. Now, you could think of adenosine as your brain's own personal sleepiness tracker. The moment you wake up, the clock starts, and it begins to build up minute by minute. The more of it that accumulates, the sleepier you get. It's now pretty much understood that adenosine is one of the main sleep-regulating substances that our body makes all on its own.
So where does this stuff even come from? I mean, it's not like you're eating it or drinking it. It's actually a completely natural byproduct of your brain, well, just doing its job and being awake. To really get it, we've got to look at the very fuel that powers every single one of your thoughts.
Okay, say hello to ATP, or adenosine triphosphate. This molecule is basically the energy currency for all life on Earth, and let me tell you, your brain is a massive spender. Every single thought you have, every memory you make, even just blinking your eyes, all of it is powered by your brain cells breaking down ATP to get that burst of energy. It really is the high-octane fuel that keeps the lights on upstairs.
And here's where it gets really cool, how all this brain activity is directly tied to feeling sleepy. As your neurons are firing away all day long, they're just constantly burning through that ATP fuel. And just like a car's engine has exhaust, when your brain cells use ATP, it breaks apart. And guess what one of the leftovers is? Yep, adenosine. So it's simple. The harder your brain works, the more adenosine gets released.
So this slow and steady buildup of adenosine is what scientists call sleep pressure. And I want you to really think about that term. It's a pressure, a physical, measurable force that's building up in your brain, literally pushing you towards sleep. It's not just a vague feeling. It's a real biological signal that it's time to rest and recharge.
And hey, this isn't just some theory. Scientists have actually measured this happening in real time. This quote from a study pretty much nails the entire cycle. Adenosine levels go up while you're awake, they go down while you sleep, and they get even higher if you pull an all-nighter. This simple rhythm is the very core of your body's non-negotiable need for sleep.
So you see, there's a direct one-to-one relationship here. At the end of a really long and mentally draining day, the amount of adenosine floating around in your brain is at its peak. And that translates directly into that overwhelming feeling of high sleep pressure, that feeling where you just have to hit the pillow. Okay, so if being awake is what builds up all this sleep pressure, how in the world do we get rid of it? Well, the answer is, of course, the very thing that adenosine is pushing us to do in the first place, sleep. So let's take a look at how sleep actually cleans everything up.
While you're sleeping, your brain is anything but quiet. It's actually hard at work, performing a deep clean of all the adenosine that built up throughout the day. And as those adenosine levels fall, the sleep pressure goes down with them. This is the very reason you wake up feeling refreshed and alert, ready to start the whole cycle over. The sleep debt has been paid in full.
But what about those times when we need to fight that sleep pressure? Well, humanity found a pretty clever way to cheat the system. And it's a cheat that most of us use every single morning, with the world's most popular drug, caffeine. Here's how this little trick works. Your brain cells have these tiny docking stations on them called receptors, and adenosine fits into them like a key into a lock. When adenosine docks, it signals the cell to slow down, which is what makes you feel tired. Now along comes caffeine. Caffeine is a master imposter. It's shaped so similarly to adenosine that it can slide right into those same receptors. But here's the catch. It doesn't turn the key. It just sits there, blocking the real adenosine from getting in. So your brain is actually screaming for sleep, but the receptors can't hear the message. And this is exactly why the caffeine crash is so brutal. See, caffeine doesn't get rid of the adenosine. It just puts a blindfold on your brain. The whole time you're feeling wired and alert, that adenosine is still building up in the background. Then, once your body finally processes the caffeine and it wears off, the blindfold is ripped away.
All of that backed up adenosine comes rushing in and floods the now empty receptors all at once. And that's a crash, that huge wave of exhaustion that feels way more intense than it did before.
So we've clearly seen that adenosine is a huge deal for our sleep-wake cycle. But you know what? Its role in our body is actually much bigger than just making us tired. This whole system is really about balance and even protection. Believe it or not, adenosine can be a real lifesaver. It's released during stressful events, like when tissue isn't getting enough oxygen. It acts like an emergency brake, helping to increase blood flow and calm down inflammation. It's kind of a guardian angel in those moments. But the system is all about balance. If adenosine levels are high all the time, it can be a sign that something is chronically wrong, and it can actually start to contribute to disease.
And that really brings us to the most important point of all of this. Sleep is not your brain just switching off. Far from it. It is an active, absolutely essential maintenance period. It is the only time your brain can effectively do this chemical cleanup, clearing out the adenosine, resetting your sleep pressure, and letting your brain cells recover. Skipping sleep is literally like letting the garbage in your house pile up for days on end.
So, the next time you're reaching for that afternoon coffee to power through, maybe just pause and think about this. You can absolutely use caffeine to hide the feeling of being tired, but you can't erase the underlying biological need. You can mask the sleep debt, but you can't fool your brain forever. The only way to truly pay it off is to sleep.